Well, my name is Victor Hassan. I am a past member of the managing committee of the Shaare Hayim, which means Gates of Life congregation, and I'm currently a trustee of the congregation. Well, the synagogue was opened in 1927. It was built for a Sephardi community which was living in and around Didsbury and Withington. The Sephardi Jews are those who, following the successive conquests of Palestine by the Greeks and then the Romans, were dispersed throughout the Middle East, North Africa, and Spain and Portugal. This synagogue was built specifically for those who follow the traditions of prayer and customs of those Jewish families who lived in Spain and Portugal until they were expelled in and around 1492. Sephardi Jews first settled in Manchester from about the mid-19th century and first lived around the Cheetham Hill area of Manchester, where a synagogue was built in 1874, which continued to function until the early 1980s and is now the Manchester Jewish Museum. Gradually, some members of this community moved to the south of Manchester, and a synagogue was established in Maldeth Road, Withington, in 1904 for the Sephardi Jews. And as the community outgrew those premises, this grand new synagogue was built for those families following the ceremonies of the Spanish and Portuguese tradition, while around the same time, another smaller synagogue was built a few hundred yards away on Lansdowne Road for those who were following the traditions of the Jews who'd settled in the Middle East. And as families moved away and numbers reduced, these two synagogues joined together again in 1997. More recently, many families have moved to live further south, principally around Hale and Altrincham, and in 2017, a beautiful new synagogue was opened in Hale Barnes for those families. Well, my family originally moved to Manchester in around 1890, and then to South Manchester in the early 1900s. My great-grandfather, who died in 1923, was a member of the managing committee of the original synagogue in Withington and was its treasurer for a time. My grandfather was a member of the building committee that established this synagogue. My father worked for the community in many capacities. He was a past president and a treasurer, and I've been involved with the synagogue all my life. So this synagogue has been a major part of our religious and cultural life throughout all my time. Well, the synagogue is a striking example of the almost cathedral-like design of some Sephardi synagogues. It was designed so that men would sit downstairs and worship downstairs, and the women would sit in an upstairs gallery. It seats 336 men and 240 women. The noteworthy features are religious, though, rather than historic. And they include the basic layout itself, the gallery, including the ladies' gallery, which is not usually used now because our numbers are considerably reduced. So that now men will sit on one side and women will sit on another side, on the other side, in front of a perspex screen, which we call a mechitza, so that there is a separation, but they're not excluded from the prayers. The bimah, or raised platform from which prayers are recited, the seating in front of the bimah where the synagogue honorary officers sit, the ner tamid, or eternal light, which burns continuously in all synagogues, representing the light which burned continuously in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, and the echal, or ark, where the scrolls in which the Torah, or Holy Law, written in the first books of the Old Testament, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, is written and from which portions are read throughout the year. Then the scrolls themselves, their parchment writings, decorative cloths and adornments, and great care is taken in handling the scrolls, which are treated with the utmost respect. There are 2 distinct designs, those in a case, which are harder to transport and are more representative of a settled community, and those with handles, which could easily be transported if and when the community had to move on. And particular note are the silver crowns, which are over 100 years old and are placed on the scrolls at times of festivals to enhance their beauty. And then above the ark was a representation of the 10 Commandments and a motto, one of a number of used in synagogues, which is in Hebrew, meaning know the God of your fathers and worship him with your whole heart.